100 eagle feathers that has traveled throughout the country. Well, our goal is 100 communities in healing by the year 2010. This could be a reservation, it could be an urban area, it could be a black community, whatever that community is in the 4 colors. So what we are doing now is when a community makes a commitment to be in this healing, this could be, they have 4 things they need to meet, 4 criteria. They need to have a training called a Medicine of 12 Steps. That's to start a recovering community. Then there's 7 trainings, then build a coalition, and to make a vision book. When they do that, we make them a drum. Then when that drum is presented to them, they're represented by the first feather on that hoop. The very first community to meet this commitment was White Earth. So they are represented by the first feather on that hoop. So there are 7 communities so far that have gotten their drums. One is Little Earth. They got their drum. Red Lake has a drum. So 3 of the communities up here are of the very first starters in terms of that. What will happen is there are 25 communities now that are in the process of meeting that criteria.
Jerry.
In the year 2010, there will be a gathering of those 100 drums up in northern Minnesota. Could you imagine going to a gathering and seeing 100 Wellbriety drums sitting in a circle around that hoop? And so we are hoping that all of you will come to that gathering to watch our website, and then you will see the detailed information on there for the gathering of the 100 drums. When the elders instructed us to build this group of 100 feathers for 100 drums, I come from like an engineering background, which is both a blessing and a curse. So I why everything. So I wanted to know, well, why 100 feathers? Why not 50? You know, and they just kind of scratched their head. But this is what they told me will happen, and it's a fulfillment of prophecies. They said when you have 100 communities are aligned back to the spiritual, to the culture, to the principles, the laws, and the values of the earth. They said like in a thunderstorm, when electricity goes in a cloud, it gets to a certain level, and then it discharges. So it goes, and the light just spreads as far as you can see. They said when 100 communities align, and they said when those 100 drums play, when those 100 drums are playing, they said in the spiritual world, a shift will go in the spiritual world. It won't be lightning that you can see, but a shift will just go around, and all the indigenous nations around the whole globe will experience that work of those first dwellings. I can't fathom that. I can't understand it. I only know when the elders, they have a knowledge that many of us do not have. They understand the depths of those spiritual laws, for that. So we are all playing an important part in a very, very tough times. And so this movement that's taking place, we have a tribe out in Oregon. The tribal council there has set a goal to have their tribe 95% sober. That's the goal of that tribe. And they're making a commitment, and they're supporting it, in many, many ways. I was up at White Earth at the Wild Rice Roundup last year, and I thought I would see something that I never would see in my whole life. I go to AA, and I go to these AA conventions, and those of you who are familiar with that, somewhere in that deal, they always have a countdown. So that everybody stands up, and they want to know who's sober the least, who's sober the longest. That's what they want to know. So everybody stands up, and they say, everybody's sober 7 days, sit down. So some people sit down. 14 days or less, sit down, sit down. Usually, it was my experience when they get to 30 days, everybody sober 30 days, or let's sit down. Usually all Indians, we sit down, That's how it used to be. But as the countdown progressed, they got up 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. When they got to 33 years, there were only Indians standing. The white people had sit down. And there was Indians standing up until 42 years for the last Indian that was sober. And I said to the Creator, take me now, I've seen everything. We won a damn countdown. I thought, man, that's just really great. But that's really true. We can win countdowns. There are thousands of us are sober, and not bad sobriety, good sobriety. Could you imagine when you walked in, you saw those young kids on that drum from Red Lake? They're this big. You imagine how our kids running around and doing all these things, they're going to think recovery gatherings are normal. We are making them grow up to think this is the way it is. Oh, there's a gathering, well, let's go there. And not only that, for our people to see us in recovery, but to be happy and having fun and laughing and kidding one another and all those things that we do. We can have a lot of fun sober and we remember it all. Which is really cool too. And so we have been fortunate to have a relationship with the Center for Substance Abuse Treatment out of Washington, D.C. For the last 11 years, we have had a grant called RCSP grant, which is going to end for us in September. And you never want a grant to end, but we are very grateful that the certain people in that process for writing that grant, the very first one, could you imagine the government funding this? You have this group and they have a hoop, a willow tied in a circle with 100 feathers on it, and we want to ask for funding to take this group out to the communities. Now that's not exactly a current evidence-based practice. There's no way to really prove that that would have any returns.